Anyone else still freaked out by the whole 1984 voice thing that happens when you record on Zoom? Anyway, hello. So last week I spoke to a writer-director who told me that she's really been slacking on finding funding for her next project and it's holding her back because she doesn't really know where to go. And this is something that I've heard maybe about 200 times before. So we're going to dive into the deep end today and talk about finding funding for your next short film. If you're new here, I'm Charlotte. I'm a producer and the filmmaker's career coach, helping you transform notebooks full of ideas into a thriving career that gets you paid for your time and talent. And if you've not been on Zoom before with me, then you won't know that I talk with my hands a lot, and I'm always very grateful that it just keeps them slightly out of frame. So you might see, anyway. But speaking of getting paid for your time and talent, let's dive into what you need to do instead of funding your own film. Now, if you're a writer-director or both, then you might have a ton of ideas. You probably have a ton of ideas. You maybe even have a ton of scripts to go with those ideas. But the big question is, what do you do next? And you've probably filled out a lot of funding applications, sent out a lot of emails, maybe even posted to Facebook groups or social media, but nothing seems to be forthcoming, right? And when that happens, we tend to start thinking about crowdfunding. Hopefully that's successful, or else we start putting a chunk of income from our day job into savings, which we can use to fund the film, or slightly worse, we just max out our credit card. You know, these are all viable ways of funding your own film. Money is money, right? But it sure as hell not sustainable. And it's probably not having a great impact on you personally or on your credit score. And it actually means you're holding yourself back, because by making yourself solely responsible for finance, you're actually becoming a bottleneck. And which means that you can't make a new film until you save up enough, or you talk your friends and family into donating again, or you pay off your credit card bills from your last film. You know, like drop a hand raise emoji if you've been there. I sure as hell have. But all of this is actually preventing you from making your own films. Let me say that again. If you are a writer, a director, or both, trying to find funding is actually preventing you from making your own films. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. The thing is, the fundamental rule that writers and directors tend to forget, because you know you're filmmakers, we're driven and determined people, and we want to take action. But the basic truth is that producers are responsible for funding, not you, unless you want to become a producer. In which case, great, I have a load of paperwork you can help me out with. But if you're spending your time researching film funds, filling in applications, trying to hunt down private investors, or putting your own money aside, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Right? Instead, you need to be working on making connections and building long-lasting working relationships with producers. These are the people who you need to be spending your time on. A lot of film funders or investors, or wherever it is that you're looking for money, often won't consider a project without a producer. So don't trip at the first hurdle by spending 90% of your time looking into funding when you should be spending it on connecting with producers. And the best part of this is that as you start to do this consistently and you build up your own producers network, it means that the next time you have an idea, you immediately know which producers will be interested. And then all you have to do is send them a quick email, because you know that Charlotte's really interested in female-led narrative drama and this project fits in there. So I'll just send her a quick email, we'll catch up, I'll mention it to her. It's a lot easier, it's a lot simpler, it takes the stress out of it, and it's so much more productive and successful. So long term, it's an easy and sustainable strategy, and it doesn't screw with you mentally, emotionally, or financially, right? So the producers you focus on connecting with should already be making films that you're interested in. Focus on the ones who are making female-led narrative dramas if, you know, that's where your heart is. Don't be collecting producers if they don't speak to you on a creative level. You know, there's no point making a load of connections with producers who've made successful films, but they were horror films, if you have no interest in making horror films. You know, that's not going to be beneficial for anyone. So to recap, if you have an idea, a script, and your pitch materials are all ready to go, start by researching producers who are making similar things and reach out to them. You know, this is about a long-term connection, remember, not just a one-off project. So don't go in all guns blazing with your treatment and your pitch deck and your sizzle reel. That won't help you build a working relationship with them. And from a producer's perspective, it's actually kind of off-putting. Instead, just send them a quick email to say that you enjoyed their film, that you are a writer, director, you know, whatever your job title is, and you make films about XYZ. You know, I start off by saying I make films about the dreamers who dare to do things differently. And then just say, you know, would you be free for a coffee or a Zoom call sometime? That's a really easy, low stress, and a really effective way to get your project into production without spending months on applications or screwing up your credit score. And long term, it means that you don't have to start from scratch every time you have a new project. You know, I'm guessing that if you're watching this, you know that feeling really well of having made 2 or 3 or 4 short films, and yet you're looking at all of the ideas in your notebooks and it's still a start from scratch scenario. You know, you're still going to have to begin right at the very top of that to-do list. And long term, that's what we want to try and eradicate for you. We want you to have those connections with producers. We want you to have, you know, the doors open without having to start from the beginning every single time and reopen them, right? So if you're going to be sending out some introductory emails to producers this week, drop your favorite emoji in the comments. If you want some more kind of structure in terms of those emails, or you want a bit more detail in terms of exactly what should go into those introductory emails, I have a free download for you. It includes exactly that. If you go to charlotteproducers.com/network, that will take you to the networking framework that I use and all of my clients use. And if this is your time to take your next step towards having that thriving, successful film career, I've opened up my calendar over the next few days to talk to you one-to-one about exactly how to do that. And I have no idea what that email is, but I'll look in a minute. So if you go to charlotteproducers.com/call, you will see the form there. All you have to do is fill that in, and I will see you on Zoom very soon. I will put all the links in the description as always, and any questions you have, just put them in the comments and I will get back to you, and I will see you all very soon.